Hello and welcome. This is Angie with thecountrysheetcottage.net. So today we're going to talk about heat transfer paper. It is an inkjet printable product that you can then add to fabric. There's light versions and dark versions. There are several different brands. So I'm going to test two different brands. In both of those brands, I have both the light and the dark version. So a version for dark fabrics, a version for light fabrics. We're going to put them to the test, see how well they work. So this is sort of a video on how to use this product and how well this product works. I'm going to do a future follow-up video comparing heat transfer paper to like printable HTV, to regular HTV, to sublimation, to infusible ink. Like we're going to compare all of these heat transfer products so you know which one to pick for your project. So you'll definitely want to head on over to our YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss that future video. But for now, let's make a cute onesie and do a ton of experiments. So we're going to be using 5 different heat transfer papers. This version is for lighter colors. This version is for darker colors. So for lighter colors, we're going to compare the Nina Jet Pro Soft Stretch. All of these are for inkjet printers once again. Then we have the WALAPaper Inkjet Light and the WALAPaper Inkjet Light Smooth. So we're going to compare the differences between those two. For the light versions, when you print, you need to mirror your image. For the dark versions, you do not have to mirror. And we're going to compare the Nina 3G Jet Opaque heat transfer paper and the WALAPaper Inkjet once again. So for these, no mirroring required. For the darker fabrics, for the lighter fabrics, you need to mirror your design when you print, especially if you have text or something like that. Now, when you have these and they're mirrored, you just flip them over, iron them on, and then we're going to peel it back. For these that aren't mirrored, we're going to peel the backing and actually lay the design like on top of the fabric. And for that, you will need some type of protective paper over the top when you press. Now, the WALAPaper came with some in the package. The Nina did not, and I'll use this protective paper. You could use like a pressing sheet, you could use parchment paper, something like that. And then with these, we're also going to try a transfer tape. Now this is a transfer tape that is meant for heat transfer vinyl so it can withstand the heat. Do not try to use regular transfer tape for this product as it will melt. So I am going to try that with one of the designs and see if it works. First, however, I'm going to do a design, the same design on all 5 of these, and head to my printer and print it out. I'm going to use a standard inkjet printer, and I will drop a link below to my printer comparison. I'm going to use an HP Envy printer. Alright, so here are my designs all printed out. Now, I have this box around here because I'm going to use my Cricut machine to cut around these designs. You can use a pair of scissors, so you do not actually need a Cricut to do these projects, but the more intricate design and the better you want to get your cut around these areas, you're going to want to use something like your Cricut machine. So I've got several different designs, like 3 different designs. Again, these are not mirrored, so these would just go, I'm going to peel the backing paper back and put these onto my surface. And I could tell I used the same printer settings for all of these, and some of them the colors just seemed a little brighter. Like this one is on the Nina version and the colors just seemed a little brighter, but we'll just see when it's pressed what they compare as. And then this version is mirrored, all 3 of these. All of these came off the printer fine and they were dry as soon as they came off the printer. Some of them I was worried about because the sheet is a little, not glossy, but maybe a little shiny, and I was worried about it drying, but it came off the printer fine, so you don't have to worry about that when you print on any of these. So next, I'm going to go ahead and take these to my Cricut and cut them. This box is just for the Cricut to locate my cut. So if you are not using your Cricut, you wouldn't have a box around there. You would just print your design, cut it out with a pair of scissors. But I'm gonna go ahead and head to my Cricut. I'm gonna try the printable vinyl setting because I think that will work on all of these. And then we'll come back and we'll peel away the excess and we'll see if it did work. I cut all of these on the Cricut, and what I need to do next, and I tested this one, is remove this outer piece because any of this white that's on here will transfer to our design. Now, it is okay to leave a little bit, is what the directions say, but not a lot. So what I'm gonna do to make this a little bit easier, so these that are the light version, so they're for lighter fabrics, this material is super, super, super thin. So I'm gonna cut it pretty close with my scissors. My Cricut, of course, cut it even closer. Okay, so now that I've cut like fairly close, I cut this on the printable vinyl setting. And now if I push on this, it is actually coming off of the paper. However, where these bubbles are, like all that is not connected. So I do not want that to come apart. So what I'm gonna do, sort of clip into that. And in that area, I'm gonna remove that excess white. And you can kind of get under it with a weeding tool, lift it just a little bit, and then try to carefully peel it back. It does rip really easily, but I'm able to peel it back and leave those bubbles on this backing paper without all this excess white paper. And my print and cut, I mean, is pretty good. There is a little bit of white around, so we will be able to see what the white looks like actually on the shirt, hopefully. And I'm just going to continue to get rid of all this excess white paper on all of these because we're actually going to press all of these. Some of them I'm actually going to make a project and others just on some test shirts that I've got. But we're going to press them all to something just to see what happens. So now that I have what's around the bubbles, I can kind of just remove this excess. Again, this was on the printable vinyl setting. This one is the Nina. I don't know if this will work for the rest of them, but I'm going to try weeding all of these. I'll come back and tell you how the setting worked on all of those, and then you can kind of determine what setting to use if you want to use your Cricut. All right, so I'm going to weed the last one on camera. So I just wanted to note that the Nina Jet Pro Soft Stretch, the first one I weeded, that was the hardest one to weed because it would kind of like fall apart. It was so thin, and that's the one I sort of punched out. The rest of them did fine. So they're just cut on the Cricut printable vinyl setting, and it just peels off super easily. So I'm just going to do one here. So this is just the image, and I just sort of trimmed around it, and then just grab it like just like you're weeding regular iron-on or HTV, and just peel away all that excess from the outside. So everything else worked fine. It was just the Nina Jet Pro Soft Stretch, the one for light colors, that was tough to weed, which I just punched those out. So now we're actually ready to press and make some projects with these. Some of these I'm going to make projects, others I'm just going to put on test shirts. So we'll set the dark colors to the side, and we'll do light colors first. So I thought we'd make, let's do the easiest one first, which is these cupcakes. And I'm just going to press those onto onesies. Now, the instructions for all of these say that you can use a heat press, a hand iron, whatever you have on hand. So I'm going to use an easy press just because it'll cover the whole thing, be similar to an iron, because some of them say heat press and they say like maximum pressure or high pressure, so I want to make sure that you could just do it with your hand. So I am going to use my easy press, which is kind of different, like in between the two. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make 3 onesies. It's the same onesie, and this is 100% cotton, white obviously, and we're going to press each of these. So with the light color, remember we flip it over, that's why we mirrored it. So we're going to flip it over and press to the shirt. So what we want to do is place this image on here and press. And I am going to press it at the start just to remove any moisture from here or any wrinkles. Then I'll put my image down and press it. And for most of these it says to remove while everything is still hot, but I will note if any of these say to remove after you've let it cool for a few seconds, because I think there was one. So let's run through each of these, putting them on a onesie. All right, so we're going to do the Nina first on this onesie, and that is 375, 30 seconds. It does say for a regular iron, heavy pressure, so pressing down as hard as you can, and then it says to be sure to iron the whole thing. But if it fits, so this easy press is going to be bigger than my image, then you just hold it in place for 30 seconds. If it doesn't, then you would run it over it both ways for a longer period of time. So I'm going to do 30 seconds. So it doesn't say anything about taping this down, so we're just going to set it in place. I'm going to drop the easy press on, 375, 30 seconds, and I'm going to press down as hard as I can for that full 30 seconds. Now my 30 seconds is up, so I'm going to pick that up, and it says to remove the paper while it's still hot. So this is going to be pretty hot, so I'm just going to kind of use this hook to pick up on that paper, hopefully get it off. And you can see that the ink has transferred to my shirt. And then one tip I found was to kind of stretch the shirt, and it'll soften that transfer up. And it does a little bit. And this does kind of feels like it's sitting on top, but not as much as HTV. So this is the Nina. So let's move on to the other two brands we're trying. All right, so we're gonna do the WALAPaper Smooth first because it's a longer time. And it is 350, 25 to 30 seconds. So I'm gonna set the Nina aside, and we can just do this WALAPaper. So this is the smooth version first. And so these can be used on like 100% cotton, 100% polyester, or like 50-50 cotton poly blend is what these should be used on. All right, so we preheated. And now we'll put our design, again, we're flipping it over, face down on our surface. And this one says medium pressure. I'm gonna press as hard as I can for the full time. All right, that was the full 30 seconds. And again, it says to peel hot. So I'm just gonna kind of lift up in the corner and just peel that back. So this was the WALACut Smooth, and it, again, one of the tips was to kind of stretch your material while it's still warm. And that way it'll feel a little softer. Now, so this was the Nina. The WALAPaper is actually much, much better. So the transfer is transferred better. So this one had some white areas in it, and it's not as smooth. This one is super smooth on the fabric. So far this one is my favorite. But let's press the third, which is just the regular WALAPaper, not the smooth. And it is only 20 seconds. So it's 350, 20 seconds, just 20 seconds this time. But again, we want to just preheat that fabric. And we'll put this one face down. lay this on top. And again, I'm going to press as hard as I can for the full time. All right, so we'll just lift that up once it's done. And this one says to allow it to cool for 5 seconds before we pick it up. So now it's been about 5 seconds, and I'm just going to pick this paper up. And once again, I'm just going to kind of lightly stretch while it's still warm. And this one is definitely comparable to the smooth. So I'm not sure which one I would choose is better, but both of them are better than the Nina. So I would throw out that one for a variety of reasons, but both of these are super similar and I really like both of those. So let's give both of those a try. I'm just gonna use one shirt and press all 3 of these to this shirt for this experiment. And we are gonna try these versions that have a few separate pieces. So there's the unicorn and the bubbles as separate pieces, and see how that works, whereas my cupcake was all one piece. So let's see how those work on this shirt, and I'm just going to press them kind of in a row in the middle. So the first one, I'm just going to do that Nina again, and it's $3.75 for 30 seconds. And once again, I'll press them as hard as I can. We'll lift that up, and once again, pick up while this is hot. Once again, there's like some areas that don't transfer with this brand, so not wild about that one. But let's move on to the other 2 brands. So I'm going to do the smooth in the middle. And I am going to be careful to not get anything on that first press. Right, and remember this one is a hot. Again, that one looks amazing. And I am gonna just kind of stretch these. All right, and finally, we'll do the regular, not the smooth, over on this side. Once again, we'll let this cool for 5 seconds and then pick it up. And again, the transfer on this one was really good, so I really can't tell a difference between the smooth necessarily and the regular. And let's pull these onesies out now that they're cool. So one's the smooth and one's the regular. And if you were to hand them both to me, I wouldn't be able to tell the difference, just visually or by feel. So I think those are basically pretty much the same. Next up, we're gonna use a gray shirt. So sort of a medium color, and I'm gonna add all of these to it. So the one for light and the one for dark, so we can kind of see what the difference is between the two, one applied to something with some color. And this shirt also has some more stretch than anything I've used so far, so I'm hoping to see a difference in the stretch as well. So the first one is the Nina for light, $3.75, 30 seconds. We'll lift that off. And the first thing, you might see a discoloration after you press. So like polyester fabrics do that. It will go back to its normal color as it cools. And it'll just pick up that paper. So this actually transferred better. This is a polyester. It actually transferred better to the polyester than it did to the cotton. Still not fabulous. So there's still some areas where it didn't transfer great. So let's move over and we'll do the smooth. That one still looks much better than that Nina brand. Still the WALAPaper, but not the smooth version. And then this one, we'll wait the 5 seconds before we pick it up. Still a super great transfer between these two. So now let's do the version for darker fabrics and see how the comparison looks with the ones above. All right, so the first version we're going to use is the Nina for dark. Now, this took me forever. You have to peel this away from the liner, and you can't get any of this liner onto the peel, and it was wanting to lift up some of the liner like it was ripping. So I kind of worked a weeding tool just very, very gently up under this edge, and now I'm able to peel this off without getting any liner. Now I'm going to peel this off as one piece. We're going to do another one. We're going to try to use transfer tape, and that one will be multiple pieces, but this is if you have one piece, and you need to be super gentle trying to get this off. All right, so now I have a solid piece, and I'm just going to heat up the spot on my shirt just a minute. Then we're going to place this down. Now remember, this version did not come with a protective liner. I'm going to use some I've got. Parchment paper would probably work if you have that. So you want to cover that up with your protective paper. Now, to do this on polyester, I've lowered the heat and the time according to the instructions. And we are going to press for that amount of time. And then once that time is over, I'm going to lift up. Now, you need to let this cool completely before we remove this paper from the top. So I'm just going to allow this to cool, and then we'll remove the paper and look. All right, so now that this is cool, I can peel this back. And so this is adhered to my shirt, and you can see a huge difference between this and the light version. So you see how the light version allows that shirt color to come through, where this version completely covers up the shirt below. So now let's use the WALAPaper version for darks. And for this one, we're gonna do $3.75 for, let's do 25. It says 20 to 25. And this one is okay for polyester, so we don't have to make any adjustments. So this is the version printed on that WALAPaper. This one is so much easier to peel and find the edge of than the Nina was. The Nina was like super hard to find the edge. This one is peeling fine. Again, you will need to be careful. So these are super thin. So again, and I'm not using the sharp point, I'm just kind of using the dull to help me peel that back. So you just want to be gentle as you peel and make sure you don't rip, especially where you have an edge. All right, then once again we have a solid piece and we'll lay that down. And on this one came with paper to cover it up. And I'm just going to use one sheet of that, cover this up. And this one is medium pressure for the full time. Again, we'll need to allow it to cool before we peel that paper back. So now I've pressed this, the paper's cool, I can peel this back. Once again, you can see how great the color is in comparison with these ones that were for the light. Now, what I did is I intentionally left this white piece in here between the bandana and the shark so we could see that it is truly a white pressed when you have the dark transfer sheet version. But when you use the heat transfer paper that's for lights, that white area becomes the color of the shirt, which is gray. So you can really see a difference between the two using this comparison. So definitely the dark version for any colored shirts. I do like the WALAPaper version much better, even for the dark as well as the light. So not a fan of the Nina on either version right now. Really liking the WALAPaper. So now let's do some more experiments on some different colors. Let's try to use transfer tape with both of these. So I have the Nina on this side, the WALAPaper on this side, and we're going to try to use transfer paper so we can get all these little bubbles onto our shirt. Once again, just a warning, this is a special transfer tape specifically for heat transfer vinyl, so it can withstand the heat that I'm about to apply. This shirt is cotton, so we are going to do 350 for 30 for the Nina, which was different than the polyester, so it was two different times and temperatures. Once again, we have to try to get this off here. And this time onto some transfer tape, so we'll see how this goes. So this time I'm going to take the transfer tape, I'm going to apply it right to the heat transfer paper. I'm just going to burnish it as well as we can. Then we're going to try to peel back this liner. And our goal is to get this transfer paper to stick to the transfer tape without ripping. So it's wanting to rip again on this Nina. Alright, so I worked with this for a while and I finally got it successfully off of the backing paper, and now it is sticking sort of to the transfer tape. I've not had great luck at a transfer tape that works with heat transfer vinyl. If you have a brand you love, you can leave it in the comments. So what I do is just slowly peel back and kind of rubbing the flat part of this onto the HTV just to make sure it stays on the tape. And I'm sure for each one of those bubbles, I am going to have to do the same thing. So I'm going to have to like kind of work under the edge to get it off of this paper without it ripping. So it wants to rip around the edge. Super annoying. So I'm just going to keep working with this and trying to get it on this transfer tape. Alright, finally success after a while. So it was not easy to get onto the transfer tape, was not easy to peel off of the backing paper, but I have a piece to test. So we're going to put it onto here. Alright, and I'm going to go ahead and cover this entire thing, including the tape, with some paper. This is like extra cautious. I always like to use extra caution, especially if you're working with something new. And we'll do 350, 30 seconds, heavy pressure. We'll remove the heat. You're definitely going to want to let this cool completely before we peel this back. So actually, while that cools off, I'm just going to try the transfer tape on the WALAPaper version, just so you can get an idea of if it's going to be any different. So I'm going to use the transfer tape same manner. Once again, it's special transfer tape specifically for HTV. I do still kind of need to work under it to get it to stick to the transfer tape, but the peeling was much easier. So we'll see if that keeps going, and if I can get those bubbles off easier, that would be a huge win. So I'm just going to keep peeling this same manner, and we'll see if this one's any easier once I get it done. The WALAPaper version came off much easier. These bubbles just peeled right off, like it was not a problem at all. It's definitely easier peeling once again from the WALAPaper version. Let's go ahead and remove, this one's cool now. I'll go ahead and remove the transfer tape. I actually have one bubble that did not stick. I'm gonna go ahead and keep peeling. So I had one bubble on the Nina that didn't stick. So what could have happened, it's so small. I said that the backing paper was ripping. The backing paper is probably still on there, so it'll probably never stick, so I'm not gonna repress. So all in all, that looks like a good press, and you can see that the shirt color didn't show through once again. But let's go ahead and press the WALAPaper version, and that one is $3.75 for 25. And once again, I'm going to put the piece with the transfer tape down, and then I'm going to use the protective paper over the top just as an extra precaution. And we're just going to cover that with that protective paper. And then we'll just press, once again, medium pressure, full amount of time. Now this one is cool, so we'll just peel back and see how it did. And it is perfect. So definitely, again, the WALAPaper is a winner for me. But we're going to do one more thing. We are going to put both the Nina and the WALAPaper on black. So here I have just a black piece of fabric because I did not have a black shirt today, but that's okay. So we'll do the Nina first, and then we'll do the WALAPaper. So same order as we have been. I mean, these are just super hard to peel for me. You could probably mess around with the settings on the Cricut and have it not cut in so far, and it might be a little bit better, but it's just wanting to rip instead of peel. I finally got it. So it does take me several minutes to get this to peel, and these thin arms are doing okay. I was worried about those, and I was not going to put this one on black, but it ended up on black. I think it'll still look okay, just because it had the black outline. All right, so put this down onto our fabric, cover it up, 350, 30 seconds, heavy pressure. All right, so I have that version cooling off up here, and then we're just gonna try and peel this WALAPaper version. And just that quickly, I've already gotten the edge. So you saw me struggle, and I actually skipped part of the portion where I struggled some more on the Nina, but I just did that one just on camera. It peels so much easier. So once again, just being super careful, especially those thin pieces. And then this one should be cool, so we'll just go ahead and peel this one back. And you can actually see some of the black through there. If you can tell, it really changed colors on that light version. So let's see how the WALAPaper does on the black. So we'll put this down, put down the paper, and this one's $3.75 for 25, and then we'll allow it to cool. All right, so this version's cool, and we'll just peel this back. Once again, the black really shows through. So I'm not sure if this is really the best product on a black material. The rest of them really look great, but the black does not look perfect. Okay, I did want to go back and let's talk about the stretch. So this is the shirt. I put all of these on, and these actually stretch at least some. So this is the fabric by itself. This is the fabric with that on it. So it does not stretch as much, but there is some stretch to them. So it's actually not horrible. I was expecting it to be worse. So it does stretch, it doesn't break. And the same can be said for the light version, even though, of course, they didn't quite work on this dark shirt. So they stretch, but not as much as the shirt. So you lose some flexibility of the shirt, except for this Nina version that I really do not like because it's super rough. It actually stretches quite a bit, but I still would not recommend that one. So overall, definitely the WALAPaper on both light and dark surfaces. All right, so now you see how heat transfer paper works. I'm gonna put it to the test now and see how long it lasts in comparison to all of the other things I mentioned. So we'll have heat transfer paper, we'll have heat transfer vinyl, printable HTV. I'm gonna put all of those like on one shirt and really run it to the test. So stay tuned for a future video on that because I need time to do that test. But now you see how heat transfer paper works, and maybe you're looking for a product to run through your inkjet printer and put something on a t-shirt for yourself right now. Definitely just give this a try. I can't say how long it'll last, but I did want to end with some tips and tricks on actually cleaning this because you will want to be sure to follow the directions. So I would definitely on this one follow the directions. So turn it inside out, use cold water, always don't iron it. So you don't want to iron it again after you've actually put it on. And then you just want to dry on the low setting. So that kind of some rules to follow with this product to make it last as long as possible. But like I said, I am going to do some comparisons and see how this compares with some of the other products we tried. Now, I will say, so from this video, I know that the WALAPaper version is the one I like. I'm going to link to it below. And I did not like either one of them on the black. So I liked it on the gray and I liked it on this blue color. Both of those looked amazing with the dark version, and I would only use the light version on white basically. I think if you're going to go with anything other than white, you're going to have to go with that dark version. And then I think if you need something for black, check out our video on printable heat transfer vinyl. It also works with the inkjet printer, and I had success with it on black. It is a different feel, like it really sits on top of that fabric, so you will have a different feel with that. And this one is more, it's not sublimation, but it's definitely kind of in between the two, so it's definitely thinner. But I still think if you're going to do it on black, you would be much happier with the printable HTV. So just look for that video in the description below. If you have any questions, feel free to ask those below. If you like this video, learned a little something new, give us a thumbs up. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Again, you don't have to use your Cricut machine with it. You can print it right on your inkjet printer at home and cut around it with scissors. I'm just no good at cutting around super intricate details with my scissors at all. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you'll head on over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss that future video because you want to see how this product compares with all those other products in the market. So thank you all so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.